It almost seems as though barely a week goes by, before we talk about another issue of people building in the wrong areas.
Yeah.
Last week on Citi Breakfast Show, we spoke about how the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Henry Quartey, did quite a bit of work to try to stop people building in the Sakumono Ramsar site. Didn't go as we had hoped or expected.
Yeah.
It was actually truncated at a point.
Yeah.
We were a bit surprised about that.
But there's always unseen hands.
Yeah. But now let's go to the McCarthy Hill area. Pretty nice, well-to-do area, you know. And residents there are not happy. Why are they not happy? Because yet again, some very wise people, and yes, I'm being sarcastic, have decided that areas that are supposed to be reserved, areas that are supposed to be used for salt mining, areas that are supposed to be protected, Ramsar sites are being encroached upon by people who want to build houses as if there's no other land or place or space
there's
in the country.
Land,
They have to do it in a place that is distinctly reserved and not meant for buildings to be erected on it. And the funny thing for me is, in order for you to build on a place like that, you have to invest so much to even make the soil ready to receive a building. So why? It beggars belief that people are so insistent on doing this because everything about it is wrong, not smart, unintelligent, destructive to the environment and to spatial planning. And yet, people are just recalcitrant enough to say, this is where I'm going to build.
So I'm looking at this from two different perspectives. One is from the side of those who are insistent on building, right? It doesn't make any sense.
At all.
You could use far less money, find some other land somewhere that there's no challenge with it in terms of hindrance to our spatial planning, our spatial plans, and not messing up the ecology of water bodies or Ramsar sites or any of those things. Then that's one. Then the other side are the duty bearers. They're people who should prevent this kind of thing from happening. Now, I do not accept that people were not aware, they did not know, they did not see buildings coming up.
I mean, it's not as if a wall just pops up.
Listen, we've been in this country,
in a day.
And as long as I have, since 1993, I've always seen stop, produce permits, stop building, produce permit, stop work, produce permit. I've seen it over and over again in every neighborhood I have been to in the entire country. You always see a building coming up, there will always be a request by the assembly, stop work, produce permit. How is it that people are able to still go ahead, illegally put up buildings in waterways, in water bodies?
This is the problem.
Okay, how are they able to do that? And then it comes to the point where now we can't pull down the buildings anymore because some other law has kicked into gear that says that you cannot go and destroy built up buildings, as we watched in the Sakumono instance, right? So we were going to pull down buildings. That was the first plan. Then
pulled down some fence walls.
Then they eventually pulled down fence walls, which makes no sense to me. It's illogical.
I know. Well, the residents of McCarthy Hill area are saying that some drains in the area have been blocked with fence walls constructed by developers. Yes. Now, the assembly member for the electoral area, Clemente J, says the blockage of two water channels, known as the South Drain and the Bali River, might cause serious flooding when the rains start. So he's trying to preempt this because he sees the disaster coming. But really, what can he do? Well, let's see. This report is filed by our colleague, Citi News' Philip Ni Latte. Let's take a look.
Many communities within the Greater Accra region get flooded during the rainy season. a situation that is of concern for both residents and authorities. In many instances, the flood had rendered affected individuals homeless and also destroyed property. The situation has largely been attributed to the encroachment of Ramsar sites and also indiscriminate building on waterways. In a bid to prevent such occurrences in the South McCarthy enclave, residents want the government to come to their aid by stopping private developers from blocking major drains in the area with fence walls. According to the Assembly member for the electoral area, Clement Ejay, the blockage of two water channels known as South Drain and Bali River might cause serious flooding when the rains start.
When it rains, the community gets flooded. Here is a flood-prone area, and as you can see, here is a wetlands or a Ramsar site, and here shouldn't have been filled in the first place. But unfortunately, the municipality, as an assembly, we have looked on consent and allow individuals to just fill the place with reckless abandon, and it is affecting the community big time. And when you look at my right hand, this is where a Chinese developer has just erected a long wall, and in the process has blocked the Bali and the downstream and the rains that's coming from the McCarthy, and it is failing to the lava. And if care is not taken to avert the situation, the future, the coming drains, the community will be very catastrophic. We are sitting on a time bomb as a community.
Secretary for the South McCarthy Landlords Association, Richard Buedi, added that the activity of the developers in the area is threatening the lives of the many residents, hence the call to have them stopped.
Our problem is flooding. Anytime it rains, the place floods. So every year, we organize ourselves, and at times we receive assistance from some of the residents here, the MP, the Assembly, to dredge the gutters. When it is dredged, the flooding subsides. But of late, the activities of some developers, they are filling at places where the water has to flow. So it's becoming very difficult for us when it rains. And from what it has been done right now, I think the assemblyman will take you around. If you go, you realize that the course of the stream is filled and structures are being constructed. So anytime it rains from now, it will be terrible for us over here. It will be very disastrous. And we request that whoever is filling the place and constructing to block the access of the road should cut drains so that the water will flow down to Pambros, because it flows from here, from the Malam market down to Pambros, then from there to Dansman.
For Nana Kunto, who is a resident of the area, they will be left with no option than to stage series of demonstrations to compel the appropriate authorities to address the issue.
Because I've lived in their country, I've lived in Japan, I've lived in China, I know what is going on right there. If you're a foreigner, you cannot go and do this in their country. You see, because even the citizens of themselves in China and Japan, or let me say Asia as a whole, they don't conserve their rules. You see, so what I would say is that if he wants us to live peacefully together with and this community, then he has to do the right thing for us.
So what if he doesn't do it? What will you do?
Well, then I think there will be a big demonstration that we're going to do so that to get to the hearing of the president. This is what I want him to know.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to do a demonstration because I can't be living here and every year, twice or thrice, I have to move from my house and sleep somewhere else, which is not good. You see, we can't be waiting for this thing to be happening on being a citizen of myself. I won't accept that to happen on me again.
So we can certainly hear and understand the frustration of the residents of the area. But quickly, we heard the assemblyman say, we did what?
We watched.
We sat unconcerned.
Unconcerned as it happened. Yeah.
I mean, that pretty much sums
that's
up
what
the
issue
problem.
is. That's what the issue is. I think that we need to start punishing assemblies for doing this kind of thing. It's called negligence. That's what it is. It's called negligence. It's called dereliction of duty. That's what this is.
And that's what prevents them from being able to demolish these structures once they come up. Because you didn't stop it when it was foundation.
At that point, you could have stopped it easily. Yeah. Because the person is doing an illegality. Okay, the person is conducting themselves illegally. You have been clothed with all the power that it takes.
And how, it can't be that people just are walking around, they happen upon some land and say, oh, let me start building. Someone obviously gives them either they sell the land to them or gives them some kind of, I don't know, permission to start building. Maybe I'm being naive, but I don't think people just get up and start building anywhere without either buying land or...
Ideally, you're supposed to, when you have your land, ideally you're supposed to get your permit, right?
To start building,
to start building, yes.
Ideally.
Yes.
So I don't know.
The majority of people don't do that. That's why you have so many stop produce permits.
Stop produce permit. But the land isn't even supposed to be, some of that land isn't even supposed to be
built on.
Yeah, or even sold for people who may have bought it.
It shouldn't be sold.
Supposed to be protected.
So who's selling those lands?
That's a good question.
And who's giving them land titles?
Right, because if you were to ask them, do you have a title for this land or a permit for this building?
Who's giving people titles?
What would they say?
To this land?
See the waterways that are being blocked.
It makes it all very befuddling. I mean, what on earth is the whole system doing? Because at different levels, there's dereliction of duty.
Well, one duty bearer, the Assembly member for McCarthy South Electoral Area, Clement Ejay, is joining us on the line. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Daily, Honorable.
Good morning, Madam.
Thank you for joining us. We've been watching the report that our colleague Philip Nilate filed, and it looks like your area is in quite a quagmire. If we look at as you said, the disaster that's looming, basically, if the rainy season comes, it looks like you're going to be in big trouble. But the question is, now with the situation, the kind of walls that are blocking these waterways, the kind of buildings that are causing this trouble, what realistically can you or your assembly do to rectify the situation?
Thank you, Madam, for the opportunity. When they started filling the place last year, we draw the attention of the developer to the municipal engineers and the municipal chief executive are also aware of the situation. But nothing was done. Even the Environmental Protection Agency came to our municipal assembly and informed the municipal engineer that enough is enough. They will not allow the developers to reclaim the Ramsar site again. So they are putting in signposts to ward off those people who are taking it upon themselves to reclaim the Ramsar enclave.
Right.
And we place all this signposts, but unfortunately, there's this Chinese man who have just removed those signposts and reclaiming the place with careless abandon.
I'm sorry, Mr. J. Did you just say that you put signposts up, the EPA, so you had the support of the EPA, your MC is aware, you are aware, there were signposts actually erected to say nobody should encroach upon that land, and a Chinese man went and removed the signposts. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, exactly.
And when he removed the posts, what happened to him?
When the posts were removed, I went there to use my phone to snap and brought the footages to the municipal chief executive and the assembly. There is one. We have a meeting. The Special Planning Subcommittee meeting is one of the committees that I'm a member, and the Municipal Chief Executive is the chairperson. And we brought this for lengthy discussion, and they say they will do everything possible to stop him from taking the law into his hands and remove those signposts, because it is not the best.
Mr. J, sorry to interrupt you, but did you go to the site with the police? Did you, or what's the procedure here? Because, please educate me. But if the signposts are erected, explicitly stating that no person is to build in this area, and you'd already seen activity there, which is why the signs went up, and someone as belligerent as he is decides, I don't care, I'm going to remove these signposts and I'm going to continue breaking the law, do you have the wherewithal to have that person arrested? Or, you know, I'm trying to understand why there wasn't an immediate arrest of this individual, why his project was not immediately, even at whatever stage it was at that time, immediately demolished, and why there ended up being long conversations and the person is basically succeeding in an illegality. How does that work?
Okay, as an assembly member, so when you see something that is unlawful, the best place to report it is to report it to the municipal engineers. They are responsible for putting in place measures. Even if the person is building, they have the right, it is in our act, to just demolish it. So that's why I draw the attention of the municipal chief executive and the engineers, and they are aware of it.
Okay, but it wasn't demolished.
It wasn't demolished, and it is still there as I'm talking to you right now.
Why?
It is unfortunate sometimes, even when he was, he came there with the machines to reclaim the place, we effected his arrest. We impound his machines to the municipal assembly.
Okay.
But he got the effrontery to invite the NADMO top executive to represent him in the municipal assembly, that we should allow him to do his work and they will ask him to do the proper thing. But up to now, nothing has been done.
What?
No, Clement, when you say they said we should allow him to do his work and they will ask him to do the proper thing. First of all, what he's doing is an illegality.
Straight up.
Which means that he's committing a crime. So when they say the NADMO top officials said that he should be allowed to do his work, what they're saying in effect is that he should be allowed to continue to commit a crime whilst the law is watching. And the duty bearers, that's the assembly, are watching on whilst a criminal is effecting a crime.
Yeah, because when we met at the office of the municipal chief executive, myself, the Saiki, the Zongo chief, and Mr. Abu Ramadan, and Mr. Iati from the NADMO headquarters, they said we should allow him to go. And they released the machines to him. But what I told them is that if the man go back to the same place and engage this kind of illegality, we will not be happy and we will not hesitate to report it to the media's landscape. And that is exactly what we have done.
So let me ask you, in Ghana, when somebody commits a crime, the person is reported to the police for a crime that has been committed. Now, has there been any action from the assembly to get this man reported to the police have the police acted on any report that has come to them regarding this particular man? Or it's just a matter of the people saying, oh, let him go, give his equipment back to him? I don't understand this.
This action can only be taken by the leadership of the municipal assembly.
Yeah.
But if the sort of are in bed with him, how can they take that action? Especially nobody is interested about this Chinese man's activity. But if it would be any other Ghanaian somewhere, he would have immediately demolished the whole thing. Because we've been seeing it in our municipal assembly. If somebody do something wrong, they just but this is a situation where he has sort of been the highest bidder, and they fail to take any action, because you can't understand. Even and I know it's the political leadership of the municipal assembly, because the engineers, everything are doing is work.
Okay. I see. Well, Mr. J, sorry, you can conclude.
Go ahead.
Recently, when I sent the municipal engineer to the same place, he told me in the presence of the assembly member for McCarthy North and the municipal Municipal Environmental Health Officer, that if he knows that we are bringing him to the same place, he wouldn't have come. Because the last time, it was, he mentioned Nana Tuata's name in our presence, that he was the person who even asked the Chinese man to do his work. So as for him, just an engineer, what can he do?
This is Mr. AJ, but thank you very much for your time this morning, and for bringing this to our attention. And what we can do is to amplify it, and hope that the people who can actually do something about this do something. But from what you said, it looks like there are several people in high authority who are in collusion here. I mean, based on the information we've garnered from the report and from what you're saying. So, again, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
So that was Clement J. He's Assembly Member for McCarthy South Electoral Area, Wejagbawe Municipality. And he was just shedding more light on what we've learned from the report by our colleague, Philip Nilate, about the encroachment of the Ramsar sites near Pambros, and in his electoral area. And maybe I shouldn't be surprised. At this point, I would like to say I am. Yeah. But it's tragically unsurprising to hear of the levels of collusion that are supporting an illegality that is potentially going to cause a disaster. And the funny thing is, when that disaster happens, NADMO, who allegedly has something to do with this, are the ones who are supposed to swoop in to help people who will be affected by the impending disaster.
Which they could have prevented. So, that's another conversation for another day. I mean, I've always wondered about the NADMO, when it's talk about national
disaster management.
So I would imagine, and maybe I'm wrong, but I would imagine that management of disasters includes prevention. Do you understand? If you can do something to, that's why we have dredging. Do you understand? It's an act. It's a proactive act to prevent disasters. So it's part of the management, right? So if you are allegedly involved in colluding with an illegality, you see, and me, the whole point is, for me, is the illegal part.
Yeah.
That we seem to be incapable.
Allow the man to do
his work. What is his work?
What does that mean?
What is his work?
Does his work include blocking drainage or blocking the flow?
That's his work.
I don't understand.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Maybe we're missing something.
I'm
maybe
sure
someone
we
can
must be
explain.
missing something because
Yeah.
this is completely illogical.
I know our colleague Caleb Kuda has also done a lot of work on this and, you know, getting the word out there about this. But as you can see and as we heard,
Yeah.
this is beyond people like Mr. J we just spoke to, and even people who are superior to him seem to have tried and not been very successful because other people in authority, it seems, again allegedly, are actually giving this man some kind of protection to do this, which is unfathomable.
Yeah.